Hi, I'm Don with Diimon Spray Innovations, here to introduce to you our latest version of the Evolve Spray Foam Rig. Let's take a look at some of the features and see what we've got. As with most spray foam equipment, you have an engine compartment or a power room. This rig has the same thing. We have doors on both sides. If you notice, it's a little bit different inside there than most spray foam rigs. There's no generator and compressor engine like you would see normally in spray foam rigs like this. What we have here is we have a rotary screw compressor that's direct mounted to a Kubota Tier 3 diesel engine. And what we do is we use the air from the compressor to power all the components in the back, and then we capture the heat from the compressor and from the engine in the heat exchanger inside. And we'll tell you a little bit about that from back there. Pay attention to details with the rigs that we build. A little bit on some of the things we've got here: double door access, hose notch on the side, rubber bumper across the bottom to protect the trailer from loading and unloading materials into it. Light switch to be able to turn on the lights from outside rather than from inside without the engine running. As you come inside, you'll notice some things that are different about this as opposed to other rigs that you're used to seeing. Up front we have the control panel, and what this control panel does is it operates the settings for the temperatures and pressures for the rig. Simple on-off switch gets it going. This control panel here operates the motor, and it has the automatic shutoffs for the over temperature or low oil pressure, things like that. And these two gauges are for the compressor's temperature and pressure. The controls for the system are underneath this panel here. A very simple control system, basic PLC type controls, pneumatic controls, and standard breakers for easy reset if anything should trip. We talked about how we heat the material from the engine and the compressor in the back. So we did that through a heat exchanger. That's underneath this custom countertop workbench area. Remove the vise where you can work on your guns. Lift up the top, remove the front panel, and underneath here we have our heat exchange unit. The oil from the compressor and the glycol from the engine are mixed in here, and this basically acts as our primary heaters for our system. The material gets pressurized from our Graco proportioner, goes from the proportioner into the heat exchanger, heats it up, and then goes out through the hoses. On the heat exchanger, you'll notice the batteries that run the system. The lights in here are run off a 12-volt system. There's no 110 in here unless you actually plug the rig in at night on a 110-volt system. We have our diaphragm pump for our hose heat. What happens here is that this pump pumps the material, the glycol, from the heat exchanger all the way out to the end of the hoses and then all the way back. And that's how we maintain the temperature of the material in our hoses. Also on the heat exchanger, we've got our high pressure manifolds. This system has the opportunity to run two guns off of one proportioner with our pressure sensors, and then also our auto balance system that keeps the pressures within a certain amount of PSI balance so that you don't go off ratio. Membrane air dryer in the back to keep the air dry. And this proportioner here is basically a Graco HydroCat type system. King Air motor with displacement pumps down here below with the long stroke. And what happens here is this unit coupled with this heating system gives me 5.9 gallons per minute at 2000 psi with a delta T of approximately 100 degrees. We feed the material from the drums to the proportioner with our IPM wall-mounted stick pump system, the OP200 system. It's wall-mounted. We use the siphon tube rather than the whole pump being moved from drum to drum to drum. And there's other benefits and features that this has that we'll talk about a little bit later. Standard high quality cabinet that's lockable, tool cabinet that's lockable. Talk about the small details. If you notice, the floor's got an epoxy coating on it to protect the floor from damage from spills from ISO or resin. The nylon strips running down the middle are used to be able to move the material through the trailer easily. The drums slide a lot very easily on them, and then it also keeps the drum off the floor. And then when you're ready to put them into place, our custom drum racks have floors on them so that the material, once again, if it spills, it stays in there, and it also protects the floor from damage. As you go towards the back of the trailer where our hose rack is, we have our recirculation manifold. This is where you attach the gun manifold from the end of the gun here, and this recirculates the material all the way from the gun all the way back to the drums. On this side over here we have our high pressure fresh air supply system. It's upgradable to a two-man system. We have enough air with the van air system that we're using to be able to run everything that we've got inside here, plus have the ability to provide fresh air for two workers. Standard warnings on the equipment that you're using, eye wash station, first aid kit, and there is a fire extinguisher here and also up front in the engine compartment. Custom designed hose rack where you can store your personal protection equipment and other items that you need for a spray foam job. The hose system is also proprietary and different than what you're used to using. No electrical resistance heat in this. It's strictly run off the hydronics from the heat exchanger up front. A lot thinner in design, a lot lighter in design, flexible, and the ability to change out individual hoses rather than having to replace entire sections. So that about sums up the features of the Diimon Evolve Spray Foam Rig. You can look online at www.diimonsi.com for more information.